What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Got a little bit of a different video here for you guys today. This is more of a video not just for Colts Nation, which is normally what this podcast is about, but this time I wanted to do a spinoff a little bit. I wanted to talk about the top 10 wide receivers, in my opinion, in the 2022 NFL Draft. I've been wanting to do this for a little bit. I'm intrigued of this wide receiver class. I'm hoping that this video will be educational and fun, not only for Colts Nation. Like I said, that's what this podcast is for mostly, but for football fans and people wanting to know more about some of these players. I know a bunch of these guys, and a couple of them I don't. I haven't seen a whole lot of them really, but I'm willing to give my opinion on some of these guys, and hopefully we can take away something at the end of the day. When it comes to this wide receiver class, I've heard a lot of people, especially close to us. I have heard some people say that they thought that this receiver class was very underwhelming in some areas. In some areas, they're right. I think the common trend that we see with a lot of these guys is play strength. Strength after the catch, and route running is different for some, and then after the catch is different. I think that's a common denominator here for a lot of these guys. But I think that there are about two or three guys in this class that I think can become very elite. And I think that there's a couple more guys that can be studs for some of the teams that they get drafted by. It truly just depends on the play style and how you want these players to perform in your system, right? So let's go with the top 10 wide receivers, in my opinion, for this upcoming draft class. And number one, and that's going to be Garrett Wilson, Ohio State wide receiver. I know people are probably going to say, oh, you're a homer, because I'm an Ohio State fan. As you guys can clearly see, I have a Ohio State poster. I love Ohio State, but Garrett Wilson, I've seen all the footage, and I just come back to the common denominator that I think Garrett Wilson is the most complete wide receiver in this draft. Was a 5-star recruit coming out of Texas. Under Ryan Day, he has flourished, right? He has gotten better and better every year that he has played. 2019 had 30 catches for 432 yards, 5 touchdowns. In 2020, on a short season, still had 43 receptions for 723 yards, 6 touchdowns. Actually had 2 rushes for 67 yards. So they started using him more in that regard. So even in a short season, still elevated his play. And then in 2021, a year where Ohio State sometimes offensively was struggling to find an identity at different times throughout the season. They were like, are they a passing team? Now with CJ Stroud, is CJ Stroud going to impact how they do offense? And Trevion Henderson, who's just replacing J.K. Dobbins, coming in as a freshman, and he just went bananas early in the year, but Garrett Wilson actually made it a point to be the number one wide receiver for the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. And he did that. 70 receptions for 1,058 yards, 12 touchdowns, actually had 4 rushes for 76 yards and a touchdown. One of those was a 51-yard rush against Purdue late in the year in 2021. So the one reason I think Garrett Wilson is the number one guy here is because Garrett Wilson, to me, checks all the boxes when you're looking at a different player, okay? You look at a wide receiver, you look at his route running, right? Garrett Wilson, he's great at getting open. Is he the best route runner of this whole class? I would not say so. But I do believe that there are a lot of different ways that Garrett Wilson can get open, and that's just how good he is. He's 6 foot, 188 pounds, actually a lot smaller than some people actually thought he was, which all the more is impressive because his ability to catch the football is just insane. Okay, I think he has some of the best hands of everyone in this class. I might argue has the best hands of everyone in this class. There has been multiple times where I just don't see him drop the football that often. And throughout his 3 years at Ohio State, his ability to make contested catches, I think he is the best guy in this whole class at making contested catches. I truly believe that. I mean, there's guys like Drake London who are 6'5" in this class, and even his teammate Chris Olave, who definitely has made some contested catches in his career. I still think Garrett Wilson at the point of attack and at the point of the jump where you're trying to make that catch, and even at contested catches where he doesn't have to go and get it, but he gets hit right away, Garrett Wilson does a great job of body positioning and doing a great job of being able to bring in a catch and hold on. Okay. His footwork is insane when he makes that catch. I think one of the only few things that I don't like about Garrett Wilson is, the footwork at the top of the routes a lot of times are not very great. That's something he's going to work on, which I'm sure he will. But with Garrett Wilson, his change of speed, his versatility, and how he is used, Ohio State showed you a lot in 2021 that he can be used in a bunch of different ways. He can be an outside guy. He can be a slot receiver, moved into the inside and make those catches in the middle of the field. He can go on jet sweeps and make that possibility to make that big play on the outside with the run. He doesn't have over the top speed like some of these other guys do, but this guy runs in the 4.4 still. He's still a very fast guy and he still has good game speed. I just think that when you look at Garrett Wilson, the whole package, being able to make contested catches, good route running, good speed, being able to having that IQ, that versatility of having been in a multiple different kind of systems and different schemes and how Ohio State went about their offense, Garrett Wilson showed you that versatility. And I think that is what makes him my number one when it comes to how things go here. So number two is going to be Jameson Williams from Alabama. Now, I know the injury that he sustained late in the season is a real bummer. It's a real bummer, and it might be a thing where he's probably not going to be able to play for the start of the 2022 season. That somebody who drafts him is going to get to know that, okay? But the one thing I would say about Jameson Williams, and it's the thing that everybody knows, his speed is phenomenal. The guy runs in the 4.3s. I mean, if anything, you think when he gets to his top speed, there's a potential that he could get into the 4.2s. He's around that low 4.3-ish range. So this guy has phenomenal speed off the edge. There's just not much more you can say about him. And to match it, he's got great size. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. So, he's taller than your average corner. So it's great that, he went from Ohio State, where I knew him, went from Ohio State, where he accumulated 15 catches for 260 yards, right? So he was a big play guy, even there, with very limited snaps, but still was able to make catches there. And you saw the plays that he was able to make. And then goes to Alabama for 1 year, just absolutely explodes with Bryce Young and that Alabama offense where they put his talent on full display. Again, Jameson Williams, great talent, but at that time when he was at Ohio State, he was battling Garrett Wilson. He was battling Chris Olave. He was battling Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I think next season will be the best wide receiver in college football. So, he was battling some of these guys. He had some guys he had to beat. And at that time, he just couldn't do that. And then he goes to Alabama. He's the premier guy, and he took off, and I don't know how much of that injury is going to be a concern when it comes to the ACL. But Jameson Williams, you look at the big play potential and what that guy is able to do, it skyrockets you up there. Every team is looking for a guy that can just blow out any corner and any safety on the top side of an offense and just make big plays with his feet. He is phenomenal after the catch. Speed is insane. Only thing that you're kind of concerned with Jameson Williams is, he's not your every down wide receiver, right? At least not right away. Does lack the strength off the top of the route, and with that speed comes, he's not amazing with the footwork. He's got to get better at the start of his route with his footwork because, when you get those big strides, it takes a minute to get that speed. So Jameson Williams is going to have to work on that. But those are things that I think can be easily fixed with an off season or two of working on that. So you work on some of those fine tunings, the strength of all things, and maybe buff him up 10 pounds. Doesn't get bullied off the front of the route. I think that he's just a phenomenal guy to look at with top speed in the NFL. Could be one of the fastest guys in the NFL for years to come. I mean, just last season, 79 receptions for almost 1,600 yards. He was averaging 20 yards a catch for 15 touchdowns. I mean, it's big play potential. Probably the biggest big play potential guy in this whole draft, and that's why Jameson Williams goes to number 2. Number 3 is going to be Chris Olave, the next wide receiver out of Ohio State. Olave, the all-time touchdown leader for Ohio State, okay? Had gone through so many different things, came on as a freshman when Ohio State had Dwayne Haskins, and going into Ann Arbor, had 2 touchdowns in that game, and just had a phenomenal time, and then just rose through the ranks. I mean, he got better and better and better as he went along. And again, Chris Olave is another guy. I just think you can put him anywhere. And that's why I put him so high, because 6'1", 190 pounds, about the same size as Jameson Williams there. 65 catches last season for 936 yards, 13 touchdowns. So about a fifth of the time, basically a fifth of the time, every 5 times he touched the football, he was scoring a touchdown. So big play potential again for Chris Olave. I think his ability to create separation at any point in a route, I can't tell you how many times I watched an Ohio State football game and saw a time where Chris Olave catches the football and that corner's not even within 5 yards of him. Not even within 5 yards. Now, some of that is zone responsibility. I get that. But Olave making catches on the outside of the field, has amazing footwork and awareness to where he is on the football field, can make plays after the catch, has good hands. I wouldn't say great hands, because this last season I saw him drop a few passes that normally he wouldn't drop, but he did that anyway. So good hands. In my opinion, might be one of the best route runners, if not the best route runner in this draft. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Chris Olave is probably the best route runner in this draft. And I think Olave may not start as a boom right away, but I think that with a little bit of time, because he freelances a lot. That's Chris Olave's style. His speed and awareness to know where he is allows, and with the offensive scheme of Ohio State, allows him to freelance and get open, and he is able to do that. In the NFL, you're not going to be able to do that as much. So if you can fine-tune how he works into an offense and are able to use his speed on play action and crossers and stuff where people lose him, Olave is dangerous. And if you need those 5-yard catches on the outside to make those contested catches, Olave is almost as good as Garrett Wilson at that as well. Olave, to me, a guy that's not going to start immediately and be a boom, but I think a year or two down the line, Olave can be really freaking good. That's why he's number 3 here. Treylon Burks, Arkansas's wide receiver, number 4 on my list. 6'3", 225 pounds. This guy has amazing size, and 66 catches for over 1,100 yards this last season, 11 touchdowns in the SEC with Arkansas. I mean, this guy just boomed in 2021, had a phenomenal year. It's crazy to think a guy of his size can be so fast and so agile and so smooth with the way he runs with the football and the way he gets open on his routes. It's why he's number 4 on my list, because of the size you get from him, and he's a mismatch on anyone, but at the same time, he's smooth with how he operates. It's really incredible to see him play. Just the only thing that concerns me with him is the numerous reports stating that his strength in the open field on tackles, amazing for a guy his size to not have that more strength against these corners. And the ability to catch sometimes concerns a few people. It turns a few people off. Sometimes makes those unnecessary one-handed catches when he could just use 2 and make sure he catches it. And other times He needs work on his contested catches. And that's crazy to think for a guy his size needs that issue. But that's something you can work on. And Treylon Burks, just as a physical specimen and what he's able to do, I mean, it's truly incredible. He's the ultimate best of everything package when you look at size, speed, and everything that goes into it. He's a nightmare for any of those guys. Number 5 for me, Drake London from USC. This guy is a physical beast. 6'5", 210 pounds. I mean, he reminds me of Michael Pittman at USC, right? 88 catches for 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns with USC the last year. I mean, he jumped after the 2020 season where he only had 33 catches for 502 yards, and this season just went off. I mean, like with Treylon Burks, physical matchup for anyone. He's a nightmare. He's got good size and speed, as I mentioned before. Excellent effort on every play that he has, both in the run game and in the pass game. That's going to be helpful for him. He's great on the deep ball, just like I said with Michael Pittman. He still needs to work on his speed a little bit and, footwork on the inside. Some things are just a little different for him, but I think that when you have a guy of his size and you work with him properly, oh my gosh, this guy could definitely be a stud for a team going forward. Next wide receiver, and that's number 6 here, and that's Jahan Dotson, Penn State's wide receiver. 5'11", 184, one of the smallest guys in this draft class, at least at the top of the list. This last season, I've watched Jahan Dotson, okay, and I infamously remember him from Ohio State playing them in 2020. Jahan Dotson had 3 touchdowns against Ohio State and their corners that year. I mean, he torched the Ohio State secondary, and he had some phenomenal plays. I mean, Jahan Dotson last season, 91 catches for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. I mean, even with the quarterback play of Penn State, and the last few seasons, they have lost their identity offensively because of losing Saquon Barkley a few years ago. Jahan Dotson became their offensive personality, and he has fulfilled. I mean, it almost doubled his receptions from 2020 to 2021. I know it was a shorter year, but I mean, that just shows you the level of improvement that he made. He has great speed, great hands. His ability to make contested catches is one of the best. It's on par with Garrett Wilson for that ability. His physicality when making those contested catches is insane. He's a phenomenal player. The only issue that you have with a guy like Jahan Dotson is, you have issues on the outside. He's not as physical at the front of the route like with Jameson Williams, and he works better on the outside than he does on the inside. So you primarily want to see him do that. But I think Jahan Dotson is a guy that you don't need to send on a streak every time. He's a guy that you can get on those outside corners. And if you need a contested catch in the red zone or in the open field, he is a guy that can go and make that happen, even though he's only 5'11". I mean, don't let the size fool you. He's got tremendous leaping ability. He's got great hands. Number 7 here is going to be David Bell from Purdue. Everybody kind of remembers this one. I know Colts Nation has been talking to me a lot about David Bell and wanting to get him. 6'2", 205 pounds from Indianapolis. 2021, 93 catches for almost 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns. So, didn't score as many times as you would have liked to have seen him, but he was the ultimate guy at Purdue to make those catches that you needed. 93. I mean, that is incredible. David Bell he's very smooth in how he operates his game. He is someone, the best analogy I saw from somebody is he's like a pitcher that has a slow fastball. And by slow fastball means David Bell doesn't create a lot of distance between people. He's not a burn guy. He's not going to burn you off the top of the route. It's just not who he is. That's not his forte. But he's a pitcher that has multiple different pitches to mix up looks. And he confuses you that way because you don't know. He's not a 1 or 2 trick pony. He's a guy that can do everything. He can run the in routes. He can run the out routes. He can do a fake on the inside, then cut to the outside, create separation like that. That's how David Bell gets open, and that's how David Bell operates. Like I said, he's never gonna beat you with his speed. But I remind a lot of people of Stephon Diggs. Diggs doesn't really burn a lot of people deep, with other corners, but his route running allows him to get open. It has great hands. So David Bell will be limited in how he's used in the NFL because he's not a top end guy, but he is a guy that can fit into almost any system because he has that ability to get open and he has a great IQ. Wan'Dale Robinson is my number 8 guy. I know this might be high on some people's list. I know that some people have labeled him as only a slot guy, and that's why some people don't have him in the top 10 sometimes. But what I see in a Wan'Dale Robinson, 5'11", 185, so it's about the same size as Jahan Dotson. He is the complete opposite of a Jahan Dotson, by the way. This guy and his ability to create separation, his ability to make plays after the catch reminds me of Kadarius Toney coming out of college. It's exactly like that. Kadarius Toney, who was able to make any catch and just make you in awe of some of the ways he's able to run and make people miss in the open field. That is Wan'Dale Robinson. And yes, most likely he's going to be a slot guy because, he's undersized and he doesn't have that wide catch radius of some of these other guys. But in 2021, had 104 catches for over 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy in the open field. He gets targeted a lot, and he is a guy that can make people miss, and that works with anyone. Anyone can use a guy like that, and if you use him the right way, you can use him in a bunch of different schemes, and that's why I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I would love to get Wan'Dale Robinson with the second round pick that the Colts have if all these other guys are taken before him. I would love to get Wan'Dale Robinson because I think he provides a element out in the open field that the Colts specifically don't have. And that's why I like Wan'Dale Robinson. His ability to make people miss, it's insane. Number 9 here, George Pickens out of Georgia. Former national champion, 6'3", 200 pounds. So he has great size. In 2021, got hurt at the beginning of the year and wasn't able to play until the very end, but was able to make 5 catches for 107 yards. You saw in 2020 and 2019, averaged about 40 catches a season for around 600 so yards and had 7 touchdowns per average. So, the odds were that Pickens was supposed to climb in rankings. He was supposed to climb in rankings and he was supposed to get pretty good. The only reason that Pickens might not be higher on this list for some people is because of the injury. You have to wonder how much of that played into it. Again, not a guy with top end speed, great top end speed like what David Bell is. George Pickens also has the size, though, to make those kinds of plays, and he's great with contested catches down the field. He is able to use that size very well, and that's why he's number 9 on this list. And the last guy here to round out the list is John Metchie III from Alabama. Alabama used him a lot this last season. He was second fiddle to Jameson Williams, of course, because Jameson Williams was the big play guy, right? He was the big play guy. But this last season, Metchie had 96 catches for 1,150 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he is regarded as their slot guy. So, that you're going to have that regard. And he's not regarded as a physically intimidating guy. He doesn't have any specific element of his game that he does great. He's just a guy that does everything good, right? So he's everything. He's that ultimate package of you want everything to be effective in the way that he does it. It's nothing big play spectacular, but he does everything with effectiveness. And you see that by him getting almost 100 receptions this last season. And for a slot guy, outside guy, whatever he is, at 6 foot, 195 pounds, that's still very impressive to be able to make those plays like that. Jumped tremendously from 2020 to 2021. It was a great job for him this last season. I'm glad that he's going to round out this list. Like I said, guys, I have not looked at a ton of these guys through everything, but I will do more of this. Make sure to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments on who you thought should be in this list, who you think shouldn't be on this list. If there's somebody that you disagree that should have been at one spot versus the other, or if I missed something that you think was different about their play, I'm curious to know your guys' feedback. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. I'm more than willing to do that. I just thought I like this wide receiver group. I wanted to talk about them for a while now, and I think this was the perfect time to do it. Thank you guys again so much. That rounds out my top 10 wide receivers in the 2020 NFL draft. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much. And as always, go Colts.